Ups. Yeah, Nanarath, if you have a question, we're in Variety Hour. Give us a question, we'll shoot.
Yeah,
I think we're just kind of
yeah,
shooting the
shoot
shit
it up.
about arcades at the moment. What was your favorite machine as a kid? What do you remember playing the
Mine,
most? Yeah,
Turtles in Time,
Turtles in Time.
by
Nice.
far. Turtles in Time was just my absolute favorite. It was so good. And I remember when that finally came out, it was just so much fun
Yeah.
that I just had to play it. It was so good.
I I think mine is. Oh my god, there was this game that was a clone of Sunset Riders that we had at
Which
the.
one?
I know what it's called, but we had it at the. It was at a little arcade thing that we had set up at a lake cabin that we would go to every couple of years. But the
Okay.
arcade machine is about a show that I'm sure wasn't very good, but it was called Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
What?
Yeah,
What the
it,
hell was that?
it's a Sunset Riders clone. So four characters, different shotgun, rifles, that type of thing.
Okay.
Then there's also horse riding. You go over obstacles and stuff. Let me see if I can find a video for it because holy crap, that game was fun. My sister and I played the crap out of that at the arcade. Yeah, here we
Yeah.
go.
So Matt Manolero says that the TMT game was astonishingly cheap, that the enemy could cancel your attacks, and that was true.
Here we go.
And it was quite frustrating. But Matt, if you ever played Battletoads, you would give this game a pass. But that, if you want to talk about cheap brawlers, that was a cheap brawler by far.
There we
It's
go.
just
So this is
frustrating
Cowboys
as
of
hell.
Boom Mesa, and it's essentially just
What the fuck, Derek?
this game is so sweet. This is definitely my
You
favorite
come
game
up
as a
with
kid.
like the weirdest shit ever.
How have you
What the
not
hell
heard of
is that
Cowboys of
game?
Boom Mesa?
I've never heard of that game. What the hell?
Yeah, so
You're fighting a giant cobra, right?
yeah,
As a
and then yeah, there's like spooky ghosts and stuff, and it was just full of fun, colorful characters with some really fun
yeah, of course.
shooting gameplay. And you had this charge attack you could do like that, where he like charges forward with his horns, and I don't know, it was just a really really fun arcade game.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's not a lot of people that actually played this game because it was just some
yeah,
random arcade game in like this pool area of our condo that we rented, essentially.
yeah.
But holy crap, was it good!
Yeah, no, I've never seen that game. I've never ever even heard of it until right now. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I would suggest it if you can find the arcade cabinet somewhere. Pop a couple quarters in it. It's pretty fun,
Huh.
but it's very
Yeah,
obviously
if I see it.
influenced by Sunset Riders. If you've ever played Sunset Riders,
Yeah, no, I haven't. Okay, come on.
there we go. So I'm still waiting on Nanarath. I think he had a question.
I don't know if he's still there though, so we might need to move on to the next section.
Yeah, let me check real quick. He's still here. We can try and come back
Oh,
if
okay.
we get the question.
Yeah, we can definitely come back. We can talk real quick to the next about
So
the game of the week.
yep. So we wanted to highlight a game, like we do every episode, seeing how
Yeah.
it is currently Back to the Future Day. We wanted to go back to the future of Star Wars and talk about Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. See it? See what I did?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Star Wars week. No matter what, it is Star Wars year, dude. And
Star
everything
Wars
Star
year.
Wars, we must celebrate it.
It's
And
Star
if
Wars,
you
son.
want
We
to
gotta get some
it's Star Wars.
merchandising. Get those R2s out there. Gotta get those kids buying those toys.
Oh yeah, and if you want to
Yeah.
have a fantastic Star Wars experience, there's no other game you need to look for that other than Knights of the Old Republic, originally for the Xbox, the first Xbox, and man, was that a fantastic game! That game just blew my mind.
Yeah. So Knights of the Republic is a classic BioWare RPG.
Yep.
And you play as typically like I forget what the main character is. He like a scoundrel or something like that? He's like no name random dude who
He's like
woke
a
up
soldier.
on
Yeah,
like no name random guy who woke up on a starship. Doesn't know who he is. And basically, yeah, you go around, you meet a bunch of colorful Star Wars characters, fight a lot of interesting robots and that type of stuff. But what it really did is it expanded the Star Wars universe for me, and really got me to love BioWare
Yeah,
RPGs.
yeah.
So without KOTOR, we wouldn't have, for instance, Mass
Mass
Effect.
Effect.
Mass
Hmm.
Effect is very obviously influenced by KOTOR.
Yes, it definitely. Yeah, it is. It is basically a spiritual successor
Yes.
to KOTOR in every sense of the word. And yeah, no, it really brought to the table a lot of things that were not known to the Star Wars franchise at that point. I mean, we really never really didn't have a good RPG. First thing about Star Wars, and the fact that this game took everything we love about Star Wars, brought it into a world. You know, those who know, KOTOR takes place. I think it's 4,000 years before the movies, right when the Republic is in its all glory, and the Jedi's are plentiful. They're not, they're
Yeah.
not extinct. And it puts you in the shoes of the character living in that world. And the game brought an opportunity where we see in true BioWare style in games like Baldur's Gate, where your teammates are not just there as fodder for enemies, or just an empty turret for them to shoot enemies while you're playing. They have personalities, they have backstories, and you can develop a relationship with them. And you want to know these characters, and you want to get involved with them. Something that it was just not really there before, and this game just brought it.
It definitely felt like playing like a pen and paper type of game on console or on PC. You had
Mm-hmm.
skills and stuff you could upgrade with. You had different attacks you could choose and set for the ready. And yeah, it was just a really, really good RPG. If you like Mass Effect, for instance, I would say more like the first and second Mass Effect. The third one is okay.
Hey, come on, it was good.
It was fine. But if you like those and you haven't played KOTOR, I would suggest going back. I think it still holds up pretty well.
It does. The
And
graphics
and the
are not
sequel.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. There's an HD version of the prequel,
Mhm.
of the sequel. I'm sorry. That I think it was fan made, where they went ahead and just completely reconstructed the game. It was awesome. But for the first one, the graphics don't hold up that well. It is an first Xbox game, so they're not pretty to look at. But the story, man, the story is fantastic, and it has one of the best twists ever in a game at that point. And it is just a great, great, amazing game.
Yeah, agreed. So let's go ahead and go back to our question real quick, and then we'll move on to
Yeah.
closing. So let me see if I can summarize this a little bit, Nanarath. But do we think that games, in the same vein as something like Undertale, where the player's character is sort of like a blank state, and the point of the game is to have a experience where instead of your decisions being secondhand to the story, the way you're going through it completely. Let me see. Go through an actual character a lot closer to the grain with your decisions. So basically, the main character in a game is a complete blank slate, and instead of having a set story, the way you interact with the game dictates how the story is told. Do you think that this is the most optimal way for a story to be portrayed in a game?
That's a great question, Nanoraf. So it depends on the game. I see this. I mean, we see this. I mean, I know that Undertale is a very indie game, but we do see this in games like Telltale games, where you're right, your character is not necessarily a blank slate, because you have characters with predetermined backstories, but everything you decide during the game is completely up to you, and it completely changes the outcome of the game. Um, it is something that it might be dying, mainly because I believe that it may hamper the writers in some way, not having a protagonist that can be able to predict their actions in a story. We still see those games, of course. I mean, not you don't have to look far away for a big game this holiday, Fallout 4, which is basically that. You have a character that is a blank slate. You got out of that vault, and it's your story, definitely all together. So it is still there, and I think it is still pretty prominent. I would dare even say that it's more prominent now than it was 5 years ago. So it is a returning for that genre. I don't know. What do you think, Derek?
So when it comes to a story with a blank slate character, I think it does definitely depend on the game. Sometimes the whole point of a blank slate character, and this is common for books as well. When you're reading a book, the main character is specifically not detailed. The point of
Hmm.
that is that you can superimpose yourself on that character.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to get you more into the story. And that does definitely work at times, and at other times it feels like there isn't a character at all.
Yeah.
So it depends on how it's written. I don't
Hmm.
know if it's the most optimal way. If the point of the game is to tell the story of a specific character, then making that character blank and leaving it up to the player to figure out how that character um, is going through the story can directly impact how that story is told in a negative way. Because
Yeah.
it feels like my character's not doing anything and I have all these side characters that are doing everything.
Yeah.
And I've seen that come up
No.
before. But it can
Oh
also
yeah.
be like I'm doing all these things and this is my story, which is really
Yeah.
well done. So to say it's optimal, I think specifically would depend on what type of story they're trying to tell.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it works for most games. I mean, for some games, it won't work for most. Games like Uncharted, you need a character that
You
is
need
lovable.
Nathan, yeah.
You need Nathan Drake. In a game such as all the fantastic games, Mass Effect, it's good to have a Shepard that has a personality that can talk. Because the problem with blank slate characters is how can you put a voice to that? So you really are left with a silent protagonist.
I I think where it works best is like a classic RPG. So if you're looking at like a Skyrim or Oblivion or something like that, or even going older, basically any RPG where you're making a character, it's
Yeah.
okay to have that character be blank slate and impressionless because you're playing that character and you're that character. So there isn't a character there other than what you're doing. In a game like Undertale, there's multiple ways you can play the game. You can make friends, you can attack people, you can become that evil dog is taking over the show slowly.
Yep.
Like KOTOR,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, so in a game like Undertale, where the story depends on how you play, that can still come off as bad because
Mhm.
for instance, when I played Undertale and I played through a pacifist run, I got really really connected to all these characters and I felt like, hey, this is I don't really feel like I'm a character in the story. I just feel like I'm interacting with these characters. So the fact that the main character of Undertale has no actual anything to it, character wise, doesn't impact the story.
Yeah.
But when
Really
you did a genocide run and there isn't any sub characters, it's incredibly noticeable that this character is completely useless as an actual
I
person.
really am looking
So,
forward to that coming back of those,
yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons style games. Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter
Yeah.
Nights, where like NanoRaf says, it's a complete blank slate character, and we are going to see a rise in that. Not CD Projekt Red, the developers behind that, tiny game called Witcher 3, are developing a game based on the Cyberpunk RPG game, and they're basically bringing this to the table where it's no longer a set character like Geralt, where obviously Geralt comes from the novels. It has his personalities. You can choose what to say in the games, but if you're really a fan of Witcher, you know that how Geralt will react to those. But Cyberpunk, it's their chance to create a completely blank character. It is still not known if they're going to go with the blank character, but it is most likely they're going to go that way because they're trying to build that immersed RPG, true, tabletop Dungeons and Dragons style gameplay. So it is something that we'll definitely see again. I mean, it is all fabs right now. Those RPGs are coming back. They really are.
Cool. So I think we covered that. That will be the
Oh yeah.
episode for today. Next week, I believe we're going to be back on schedule on Thursdays, correct?
Yes.
At least
Hopefully.
that's the plan
Most
anyway.
That's the plan.
Next week is also Halloween week, so
Oh yeah.
that'll be interesting. Maybe I'll show up in costume. Maybe I'll show up without a costume.
Uh-huh.
I
Your
don't think Twitch
birthday
would allow
suit.
that. I
No,
don't think
thank
Twitch would
you.
allow
Yeah.
that. Maybe if it was my birthday.
No, and it will be nothing to see, really.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
completely invisible under the shirt anyway. So, yep. So that's the episode for tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. If you are listening on YouTube or on the VOD, we'll be back on Thursday. So, see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week, guys. Have a great day.
Peace out.